We have made it to the final shot of the day. We jump into the world, and you can see now the shadows, if we fly up here, the shadows are starting to get very long in the other direction. Look at how long this shadow is getting as the sun is now up there. It's starting to come lower and lower in the sky. This is like our 4:30 time of day. We've timed it perfectly now for the close-up. Because we saw the close-up the other direction, this really is the same shot. It's the same setup, it's the same things that we're gonna do, so I'm not gonna spend as much time on it as we did on the previous one. But from here, if we jump back into the camera, let's jump in. We know that we shot the other one on the 35, so let's jump to the 35. And we're gonna want this one to match, so let's move in here. We'll just slowly creep in. Maybe we can go a little bit faster than this. Let's go walk speed, whoops. And something like that, right? And why isn't she in focus? Let's talk to the first AC, get the lady in focus. And that's our levels, right? Right there. Maybe come down just a little bit. Let's, if we just go back to creep, come down just a little bit. And then I'm looking for shadows, looking for anything I can find in the background, depending on where the director wants the eye line. I might just be looking like, I don't want this thing, again, coming out the top of her head. I don't want to be too high looking down at her. I want basically the same angle that I had before, right? This is a very wide eye line. This is a narrower eye line as long as she's not looking at the camera. And this is probably, I would be somewhere in here with that, with the horizon not cutting through her eyes and not completely off her face either, right? This is too high, somewhere in like that, okay? And I like that you can see both of those poles in the background even though we're almost wide open. There's just some interesting things in the background. I like the horizon, the blue sky, and even the lighting is pretty much in the right spot. The only thing we're gonna change, again, is we're gonna bring in more control. And by more control, we can just bring this thing in. And let's zoom in here. We'll bring in our diffusion. That is gonna diffuse the 4x4 that we just had. And look at how close you can get this thing. If we rise up here, and we just rotate it around a little bit, jump back into the camera, and you can see now it's taken the light away, right? It's acting as diffusion here, which is why you get such a different look. So it's taking light away. We just need to up the levels a little bit. So if we come in here, what we would do to up these levels, say this is diffusion and this is like quarter grid or something like that, nice and soft. To get more level out of this, we just angle it back to catch the sun a little bit more. We're gonna bump up the level, say that gives us another stop. And we come in here, and that stop now translates to the diffusion itself, and we jump into the camera, something like that. And then if we set the focus so we actually get her in focus, this is where you take over from the first AC and you say, just leave it, just leave it. Okay, this seems a little bit like it's a little bit too harsh. We got a little bit too much shadow frame left, a little bit too much light coming from the key. So I'm just gonna jump out and slightly lower this level so it feels a little bit more natural. Let's take this to 75. 75, and you can see how small and incremental these things get to make it feel more natural. And still, I'm gonna try and wrap it around a little bit more. So let's come to our 4x piece of diffusion here. If we come up, I'm gonna try and wrap it around to the other cheek. So if we see the director's monitor, you'll see what I mean, what I'm trying to do here. I'm just gonna bring it more behind the camera, which is gonna give me more wrap to the other side. See how if I move it away, we get that half-half look? All right, that's a half-half look, and then if I move it around, I get a little bit more wrap. So something like that. Let's enter here, and like that. And then let's come around, and we'll do it even wider this next time. Or we'll do it even more fronty. So come around this way. Now let's see that. That's better, right? That feels a lot more natural. Okay, and then we see the difference if we go back to the storyboards. So that's just with the bounce, not enough, with just the diffusion, I mean, with the bounce as it were. Then we adjusted the levels by rotating the bounce upwards to catch the sun. Now you see it's a little bit too sourcey. And then there, we just came around the front a little bit more and you see what happens to the shadows, right? We lose that shadow side and it becomes a little bit flatter and just a little bit nicer. And that feels, again, does it feel lit? Yes. We need to up the levels in the background just a little bit. But we've got that top light in the right spot up here. We've got the bounce coming around and just hitting this near side cheek. We've got our little leak of light down here, which we could play even further around in the close-up. And then we've got our neg. But really, How simple is it moving in, right? And this is something that you can use to your advantage when you're scheduling, because people are not used to moving this quick. So if you say it's going to take a lot of time to do the wide, but then from there we're going to be able to move in and work very, very quickly. Everybody is happy. The talent's happy, the director's happy, producer's happy. Everybody feels like they're in a rhythm. And again, you can do this with, you don't have to use a 12 by 12 here. If you use 2 floppies, it's the same technique. Get as close as you can to the camera and wrap it around. Use the bounce from the backlight. Give us that little key. Set everything, when you get in position, set everything to the levels in the background, and you're going to find that you'll be able to move very quickly, and matching is not a problem, because now if we go to the storyboard, it's just looking at the stills. Remember this shot, and we're going to match it with this shot, right? Looks very, very similar, right? That and that. Where is our actual, right? Feels very, very similar. That one feels a little bit too key-y. This one feels more natural, but you could get there in the grade, right? And you can't tell the difference because it still feels like the light is always coming from frame left, always coming from upstage. And then when we come around to her, again, we get that feeling. It's coming from frame right. Even though the sun and the shadow, look at that shadow in the background, has completely changed directions. Whereas where we were at in the morning, look at the sun back here. It's coming this direction towards the camera. So the location, the schedule, and having a plan to make it all work is how we can use these levels, these angles of the sun, and in the end make an entire day's worth of shooting feel like it all happened over 30 seconds or whatever it is. And again, in these wides, we'll be able to really bring down those levels in the grade, right? You just highlight, put a little power window here, lift those levels, bring everything else down, and it all starts to feel like it's in the same world. That is the final shot, right? You're walking around here, everybody else is able to pack things up. We can pack away all the cars, we're not using those. We are walking out of here with time to spare and a job well done. So that is the final shot of the ad. Congratulations, you made it.